Hello everybody, welcome to the Wonky Angle, where I talk about electronic music, both new and old. And today I'm talking about the new album from Rezz, Mass Manipulation. Okay, so first and foremost, you're gonna have to excuse me here. I think this album is typically the kind of thing you'd most likely see covered on Landon Remix's channel, and not this one. But he's kind of on hiatus right now, so yeah. The artist we're discussing today is currently on the Mousetrap label, and I'll admit I am not an avid follower of that label. I mean, I've heard a couple of names here and there besides the big freaking obvious dead mouse in the room. I recognize the names No Mana, Atlas, or Matlange, but I'd be lying if I said I was super familiar with, like, their work. I'm sure some people are going to be like, well, you're a fan of deadmau5, how come you don't care more about his label? You need to know every single name on the Mousetrap label, or you're unqualified to talk about music and all that stuff. Well, or maybe they won't. I just always assume the worst out of YouTube commenters. Whatever, but I figured, hey, might as well give this one a shot. Why the hell not? So who is Rezz exactly? Well, she's a Canadian producer. Real name Isabelle... I'm not even gonna try that one. But by the way, yes, I did say she. This is a female producer, and yeah, that's pretty cool. We seriously do not get enough of those. Alright, so seems she's had a few singles and EPs out for a while now. Admittedly, haven't looked that deep into it, but most of it seems pretty dark. Like, mostly really bassy stuff with elements of techno and electro and a tiny hint of modern dubstep thrown in there, I guess. She seems to have carved out her own pretty unique style. Closest match I can think of off the top of my head, and is no way induced by other people's comparisons, would be maybe Gusher. Kind of has that dark, atonal, glitchy vibe to her stuff. I don't know. Not gonna act like it's the greatest stuff I've ever heard. Not super my thing, but, you know, from the stuff I've heard, it's pretty enjoyable for what it is. So now the question is, how does her new debut album, Mass Manipulation, fare? Not bad. Not bad. Not amazing. Not much that I didn't really expect going into it, but yeah, enjoyable for what it is. There's nothing really on here that doesn't push outside her already established style and comfort zone. All moves at a fairly slow tempo, focuses on all those dark techno and electro elements we've heard on her previous releases, but, you know, it's a fairly fun listen. So, highlights. I like the opener, Relax. Like the voice that sounds like some guided relaxation tape being juxtaposed over the dark, techno-influenced beats. Reminded me a lot of a really old Orbital track, Deeper, which did kind of have a similar thing with the deep voice telling you to relax, breathe in and breathe out, etc. I doubt it's a direct reference to Orbital, as that's a pretty obscure one to take influence from. It's probably just a coincidence, and she just happened to have a similar idea to theirs. But, hey, if you remind me of Orbital in basically any capacity, even if inadvertently, you're doing at least something right. That is probably the track which is the most interesting, though. The rest is cool, but, you know, doesn't offer a lot of discussion. Diluted Brains is pretty atonal and dark, like everything else, but, you know, has a cool atmosphere. Premonition, featuring someone called Nadis, is probably the most melodic track on here, stand out mainly for that. That was a particularly fun track. You got a track called Drugs, which is definitely an eye-catching title, but not a huge standout for me and doesn't really remind me of Drugs any more than the other ones would. It's probably the track with the most dubstep influence, though, perhaps thanks to the presence of co-producer 13, but I don't know. I've never heard of 13. And then Livid, that's got a lot more straightforward rhythms. Not the most exciting, and I did come out of it starting to get a little bored of her style, but it's not a bad track either. And then there's Green Gusher. That one's a bit more interesting, obviously intended as a companion to her earlier track Purple Gusher from her Something's Wrong Here EP. On top of having an intro with some atonal synths that vaguely remind me of the Submachine soundtrack. You got these melodic sections that have some organs in there for added I don't know, goth. And also some DJ scratches too, so yeah, pretty fun and interesting track overall. Then you got Synesthesia. That one was okay. Wasn't crazy about the drop though. And then finally you got Ascension with Kotek. Never heard of that guy either, but whatever. That track was one of the better ones too. A bit more energetic, some really nice build-up in the beginning, and some cool melodic sections in it, combined with what sounds like some synths imitating distorted guitars, and a particularly jumbled and interesting drop. So yeah, that was nice. And yeah, I think that's basically about it for this album. So overall, this is a pretty solid album. It's nice and short. It's not even a half hour long. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's well produced. Rezz has a unique style. It's pretty nice all around. That being said, do I see myself coming back to it? Probably not. I mean, it was good, but it's not like it blew me away or anything. Or on one hand, I'm sure if deadmau5 really wanted to make something like this, he could probably throw it together in like a week, no problem. I mean, not that he would want to, but, you know, he probably could pretty easily. So it's not like this is the most mind-bendingly impressive production I've ever heard. You know, it's definitely good production. There's nothing objectionable here, aside from maybe just a general lack of memorability. I'm not a basshead by any definition, but, you know, I did enjoy this. I think it's worth looking into for those fans of deadmau5 and his label. Maybe not the kind of thing I'm going to have in heavy rotation or remember well in the coming months, but I'm glad I picked it up and checked it out. So yeah, cool stuff here. I'm overall feeling a solid 7 out of 10, but of course this is just my opinion. You can feel free to disagree with it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts, so leave comments in the comment thing down there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all for today. See you next time.